Hey guys, welcome to week 5. Now, first of all, we're going to just look at the topics we'll cover today. We're going to take another look at the budgeting and the solutions I've come to with regards to affording appearing at the artists' alleys at conventions. We're also going to take a look at one particular thing I want to have ready for the conventions, which is a comic I've been planning for quite some time now. In addition, we're going to look at how to actually set up a template for a comic page. So, first of all, the budgeting side of things. I've worked out that by the first convention, so this is GemuCon in April, I need to have around £550. To do that, I'm going to need to earn an extra £137.50 per month for the 4 months leading up to it. Now, I've broken it down, and it's actually quite plausible. I can either do around 20 hours of overtime at work, which, being the Christmas period, they're quite desperate for that, so I can get that in while the iron is hot. For example, New Year's Day, I'm planning to work 8 AM to 6 PM, and that's at triple pay, so that should help greatly towards that goal. Alternatively, if I do around 13 commissions in one given month, that should also give me around the £137.50. Again, prices vary for each individual, dependent on what they're actually requesting. So, the budget side of things, I've also sold a couple of video games on eBay recently, and there's a few other bits and pieces that I'll just be clearing out because they're not getting touched or used, and that money, again, will go into the same pot, and again, we'll be looking at that sort of paying for the convention appearances. So, second of all, the project itself, the comic that I want to have ready for those conventions. It's a little project called A Traitor's Reasons. Now, A Traitor's Reasons, I don't want to go into the plot too much. The script needs a little bit of refining, but the main points are down. I'm aiming for it to be around 3, maybe 4 issues in total, sort of a set 3-act structure with it, and each of the issues of the comic would be 1 act of that structure. So, at the moment, I'm not going to say too much other than it will be somewhat of a fantasy setting, so it's going to have quite a traditional RPG feel to it. But it's going to borrow more from Western comics than it does Eastern comics, so more sort of DC Marvel than anything, you know, manga orientated. Now, the plot itself, I'm trying to think what is actually safe to say. And actually, in the title itself, it does follow someone who has, in a way, betrayed their own country and gone rogue, but there is good reason for it, and it's sort of an exploration of loyalty and morality, and sort of really defining, yeah, there's a grey area between right and wrong, but sometimes it can be broken down into simple black and white. It should be very interesting. Naturally, as I go along, there will be concept art sketches, things like that, that will go both on here and my DeviantArt. So for that, I've had to make a comic page template. Now, there's a couple of ways of going about a comic page template. Naturally, what I'm aiming for is regular comic size, so right there. Now, a lot of people quite literally just take a ruler, measure up a normal comic, come out with around, 6.75 inches by around 10.25 inches and just run with that. They don't take into account what's called the bleed, trim, and live areas. So that is a traditional comic. If you were to draw a comic, you would do it on one of these, if you were working traditionally. Now, it's got non-repro blue lines on this, so I don't know if it's going to show in the video. Let me just come a little closer to the camera. Oh, and I think it's probably going to try to refocus. But yeah, so you can see it's got different areas there. Now, I'm not going to be working digitally, I'm not going to be working traditionally, I should say. I am going to be working digitally. So, one thing that should become immediately obvious is this right here is a hell of a lot bigger than the actual comic. The reason being is that most people will work at double the size something is going to be printed at. The reason for that is that they can then smack a lot more detail in. So when I work digitally, I tend to work to 11 by 17 inches, and in just a moment I will show you the actual template itself. Now, the template is based on the DC guidelines that were given away by Freddie Williams II in his book Digitally Drawing Comics the DC Way, or the DC Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics, when I can get the actual name correct. So with this, he sort of gives away that, you know, it is 11 by 17 inches that DC artists work on, and he sort of goes into how he uses that. So let's dive straight across to my digital template itself, and we'll explain exactly what's what on that template. So this is my digital version of the comic template. As I said, this is based on the sizes used by DC artists. So if we just zoom in, what you'll be able to see are just the blue lines that naturally separate everything out. So let's go over exactly why these blue lines are here and what their purpose is. Okay, so if we start just from the back and work our way towards the middle, you've got this layer here, which basically only contains information such as the title of the book, who worked on the page, things like that. You really shouldn't have any artwork or any other information in this area. If you do, then you've sort of wasted a bit of time, to be honest with you. So that's just there for framing more than anything else. Now if we come in one, we've then got our next area. So whenever you do put a comic through print, it's going to get cropped. So anything that's in this area in general won't be on the actual page itself. The reason that we have this here is so that if you have anything that needs to bleed off the page, so any artwork that needs to go right up to the very edge of the page when it's printed, if you make it overflow into this area, then you know for definite you will get that effect. So that's the purpose of that one. Now you've got this area, which basically denotes which artwork is safe. So by safe I mean any artwork that will appear on the page and can be seen by the reader. So anything that goes outside the edges of this box won't necessarily be seen. Anything within this boundary, you know, is going to be visible. So any important elements need to be within this. If it's in either of the two boxes outside of it, you've done it wrong. Now the final area, this middle box, is the box that any text should be contained within. So if you've got any speech balloons or any text that goes outside of this middle box, it may not be legible. So you might not be able to read it, certain words might get cut off. So you might be thinking, how can the text be in danger when the artwork isn't? Whenever you put a book together, there's a certain amount of the page that's going to be lost to the fold of the page. So naturally you've got books that are stapled together, and for the most part it's not something you have to worry about if it's, say, a 24-pager with two staples in the middle. But on bigger books, so if you're doing, say, a hardcover edition which is a collection of several comics, or if your comic is appearing as a part of an anthology, then you really need to be aware of this, because naturally you've got two sides to each page where it is going to be folded in with sort of a residue that sticks the pages together, so you're going to find certain bits trail off to the side. And that becomes a big problem, especially with hardcovers or any kind of collection, really, where you've got, say, 100 pages and you've got a double page spread. You'll notice that you lose a lot of the image on the double page spread where the pages are adhered to the actual book itself, because it has to go back to the spine of the book, and naturally with the other pages behind it, it has to curve in quite a way. I don't know if my description of it is the best, but I hope that you get the idea of what I'm trying to say with that, and that you can then sort of understand what I mean. But basically, this middle box, anything that needs to be
you know, in your text, any dialogue needs to be contained within here, otherwise you do have the danger of losing it and your reader not being able to see it, which obviously is going to be a bad experience for them if they're getting words cut off or anything like that. So that about covers the actual comic page template itself, and yeah, hopefully that's something that's been quite easy to follow. There is a free version of the template, which is available at Freddie Williams' site. What I will do is I'll put a link to that site across here so that you can go visit it. I'll also put one in the description of the video below as well.
So that about covers the main points. Naturally, as always, I will keep you updated every step of the way. In the meantime, as I said, if any of you do want any commissions, then by all means just send me a message and I'll send you an individually tailored quote. So hopefully I'll see UK viewers at the conventions that are coming up soon, and we'll go from there. But thank you very much for watching in the meantime.